So I haven't posted a video in a while, mostly because I've been lazy. I shot a whole bunch of GoPro footage from the home all the way to California, but it's like 3 hours worth of video, and I don't think anybody wants to watch that, so I'm trying to edit it down, and it's a pain in the ass, and I got a couple more. But anyway, so this one, I figured I'd just do something quick and easy, and then that way I wouldn't have to spend a lot of time editing it. But so we've had kind of some discussions about things they don't tell you during your orientation, and it's borderline criminal. This stuff, like, well, not really criminal, but it's mean that they just completely set you up for failure. And what really pushed me over the edge and decided to do this video was last night, 2 days ago, a couple days ago, whatever. The nomadic couple, it's another YouTube channel. They just did drive-away, and then for whatever reason they decided they're going to rent a truck from Enterprise and do tow-away. And the very first video they did about it, they're sitting in the truck and they're all excited, and then they said it's like a 41 footer or something like that, and instantly just shaking my head going, nope, that's not going to work. And it's because when you do the orientation, they completely screw you. And I don't know if they do it intentionally. It doesn't make sense to me, because if you set your drivers up to succeed, they're going to stay longer. So I don't know why you wouldn't have a proper orientation. I don't know, but whatever. Doesn't really matter. I've been through 3 of them, and all 3 of them were the same. Just very, very high level. They don't tell you how to do a good job and how to make money doing this. So first, the bottom line is you would make more money going to drive for Swift or CR England. You make more money driving a semi. Even if it's not your truck, doesn't matter. You'll make more money doing that. This is not the most money you can get driving a pickup truck. What this is, it's a decent amount of money driving a pickup truck, and you can stop and see the sights on your way home. That's what this is. And a few videos ago, I talked about how much you can make. And legitimately, I think if you work hard, and when there's loads you're running, and you don't go home and don't take a lot of time off and whatnot, you can easily make, after taxes and everything, $60,000-$70,000 a year. No problem. But you got to run. You can't go home. You can't hang out. So back to what they don't tell you in orientation that really screws you up. Number one is choosing a load. You have to avoid the long ones. You have to avoid the heavy ones. You have to avoid the ones going places that don't have cheap fuel. You have to avoid ones that just don't make sense. When I look for a load, the first thing I look for is anything over 1,000 miles. And the reason is because every load has a pullout fee, and it's $35 or something like that. And you have to spread that out over the number of miles. So if all you're doing is 150-mile runs, that $35 eats into that short mileage in a hurry. But if you spread it out over 1,000 miles, it's not so bad. I mean, it's still stupid that we have to pay it, but it is what it is. That's how all the companies run it like that. So the number one thing, you look for high miles, and the best trip is a 2,000 mile, 2,000 to 2,200, because you can get that done in a week, and then make it back before you have to reset. So if you can find something like that, then the next thing you look for is the length and the weight of the trailer. It's not quite as important, the length, but the weight of the trailer makes a big difference. Now, if you're driving the Enterprise truck, I can't speak to what that costs for the rentals, because I've never done it. I've heard 22 cents a mile, and then when I was watching the nomadic couple, they said that it was 30% of the gross, which that's freaking criminal. That's highway robbery. If it's 30% plus 22 cents a mile, you won't even break even. I mean, that's horrible. But anyway, so if you're driving your own truck, you don't want to put heavy trailers on there. I mean, I see these guys pulling these, 44-foot, 18,000-pound fifth wheels. No way. No freaking way. They're not paying enough to justify the abuse on your truck. So you look for the lightweight trailers, and they generally are under 35 feet. This one's 38, but that's a whole. I'm doing something. I got to be home tonight, so this was what was available. But so you generally look for something under 35 feet and under 10,000 pounds, and they only post GVW. So sometimes you'll see a trailer that's like 11,000 or 12,000 GVW, and it's shorter, be 33 feet. Those are usually toy haulers, so the gross vehicle weight rating is higher because they know you're going to put a 1,500 pound, side-by-side in there or whatever. So you can sometimes get away with it. It's actually a light trailer. It might only be 7,000 pounds, but the GVW is really high, so sometimes you have to just look at what it is. A lot of times because they all show the model, like this one is a Premier or some crap like that, so you can Google it. So what you really, the most important thing is you want to avoid park models, and those are the trailers that look like mobile homes. They're flat in the front. Those, you get the worst gas mileage you can get. So the two trailers I got terrible mileage with. The first one I pulled for Horizon was a bathhouse, and it was a cube, like dead flat front, flat sides, flat back, and we took it down to Georgia or something like that, and I was 9.4 miles per gallon or something pulling that. And then another one was a small trailer. I think it was like 32 feet, and I was going out to Wyoming, and I had 18 mile an hour headwind. So there's nothing you can do about that. That's another thing when you're picking your loads, check the weather. I don't care so much about the wind because it's not that often that it's you get it going both ways. So if you're getting a tailwind on the way home, it's a little better. It's not quite as good as no wind, but it's something. So it's not a deal breaker. Biggest thing with weather is the hail and snow and hard rain or 30-40 mile an hour winds. So that's something that you got to look at. So that's how you pick a load. And then once you figure out where you want to go, if there's nothing over 1,000, if there's nothing pushing the 2,000, you got to figure out, okay, I can do this load, and then I'll have, I can do this many more miles and still deliver before close of business on Friday, or you got to look for a load that has a Saturday delivery or something like that. So I mean, there's a lot of little considerations, but that's the kind of stuff that they don't talk about during orientation, and that I 100% understand, because if they told you, hey, don't ever pull a park model, nobody's ever going to pull the park models, and honestly, they shouldn't, just flat out. And if they don't, then maybe eventually the companies will start paying more, because those things are ridiculous. They beat the crap out of your truck, and you get terrible fuel mileage. I'm not going to pull them for 3 cents more than this one. Not going to happen. So. I mean, it would if there was nothing else to pull, and that's something else they don't tell you in orientation. So there's no such thing as forced dispatch in pulling campers. And basically what forced dispatch is what semi-truck drivers do. Hey, you got to go pick up this load here. You don't have a choice. And they're able to do that because those drivers are considered employees. So since we're considered contractors, they can't do that. But what they will do is say, oh yeah, you can't take that really nice Colorado load until you take this one to Southern Illinois. So sometimes you have to either put your foot down and say, well, I'm not going to pull anything this week, or you suck it up and take the short, crappy load. And I think that's what happened to the nomadic couple, is that they said you have to take one of these hot ones. And because that was the same time where I had to take a short run. I took one to Akron, and in order to get that Colorado load, and I saw the list of campers you could pull, and it was like 3 of them that were 41 footers, and I was like, no, I'll take the 30 footer to Akron. So sometimes you have to eat that, and it sucks, but it is what it is. So that's a mile-high view of how you pick your loads. Another way to do it is, the first thing you should do is go look at the backhauls, and if there's a chance you can get one nearby a backhaul. Now, in the year I've been with Horizon, it's never happened. I've never found one that I was able to link up, because they call backhauls things that aren't backhauls. You're picking it up in Michigan and taking it to Massachusetts. Well, that's not a backhaul. That's just the wrong way. So sometimes the backhauls don't have the pull-out fee, so it might be worth it, but you gotta see what there is. So that's picking the loads. And then after that, they don't tell you about fuel. So absolutely, number one, if you're going to be serious with this, you have to get a tank. And you have to get the biggest one you can afford, the biggest one you can fit on the truck. And the reason for that is fuel prices vary wildly all over the United States. So by being able to get fuel cheaper, your net income is going to be much higher. I mean, it's, that's pretty simple math. And then on where to get fuel, Horizon pays with EFS, Synergy pays with Comdata. I'm not sure what the other ones do, but they all have an app. And so you go on the EFS app and you can search your route, and it'll tell you where the cheapest fuel is on your route. And I got 109 gallons, so altogether loaded I can go 1,500 miles. So I look along that route, and as long as I got enough gas to get to the cheapest station, that's where I'm getting fuel. And also, there's an app called Gas Buddy, and it's meant for cars. So if you got a 38-foot trailer, you're going to have a hard time getting into a little gas station. You can do it, but sometimes it's sketchy, especially if you're by yourself. You don't have somebody to watch your as you're backing up or whatever. So you got to be kind of careful where you get fuel. But Gas Buddy's just a regular gas station. Now the other thing you can do to save fuel is, if you're not using your EFS or Comdata card, because you get discounts with those, get a credit card with perks. And the two that we have, one is a Sam's Club, and that's 5%, and the other one is Penn Fed, and that's 4.25%. Now the Sam's Club caps out at $6,000, and if you're using your Comdata most of the time, you're never going to hit the $6,000, but it's nice to have a backup, so that's why we have the Penn Fed. And those are the two best ones we've ever found that have fuel perks. So, and then, let me think, what else? So, this is not so much something they miss in orientation, but something you probably should try to not do, is you're allowed to take an advance. And for whatever reason, Comdata and EFS take a cut. I think it's like $1 when you get your advance. Don't get an advance. You shouldn't need it. You should be I get it, you get into a bind, or you didn't leave enough money on your Comdata card. That's another one. Don't ever use your freaking Comdata or EFS like a damn credit card. Transfer the money to your bank, use a normal credit card, and then pay off the credit card with the money from your bank. Don't, because there's guys getting screwed constantly using that Comdata. They'll just use it for fuel. So you leave enough money on there to pay for fuel for the next run, and then when you're done, you get paid, and then you transfer off what you don't need for the next run. That's something they don't tell you in orientation. But the reason I say don't take the advance is it's an extra $1, so you're losing another $1, and that's they're just, it's hilarious, because I pull out and I've got no circled on do you need an advance, and they all look at me like I'm crazy. It's like, no, you manage your freaking money right, and you don't have to do that. So it's another thing they don't tell you in orientation. So after that, let's see, when you're going, before you leave, you got to call the dealership. They talk about that. You call the dealership, make sure they're going to be there. Sometimes they're at a show or whatever. I've never actually had one say, "Oh, we're not going to be there during normal business hours," but sometimes it doesn't say their hours on the BOL, so you want to know what time they're open till. This one, I'm getting there at like 3:30, and they close at 4. So if I end up in some crazy traffic going through Cleveland, I'm going to PA. Going through, actually, it wouldn't be Cleveland, it'd be Youngstown or something, because I'm taking 80. If there's crazy traffic or something like that, I might have a problem. Not a huge deal. Okay, so I just hang out and stay in the truck for the night. But that's another one they don't really tell you. You can't stay in hotels. If you want to be successful, you can't stay in hotels. Now look, if you're a retired guy and you got a pension coming in and you're just doing this for a free travel, yeah, stay in a hotel all you want. You'll make enough money. But if you're doing this full time, you have there's a finite life on the truck, and you got to bank enough money to buy another truck. Otherwise, you'll end up in the hole. And I can't tell you how many times I see guys going bankrupt, and they're just losing their mind, and they're losing everything. And it's just, do the math, do it right, live cheap, and you'll be fine. So you don't eat it at the truck stops constantly. You get a cooler and fill it up with food. We do sandwiches and freaking cucumbers and ranch dressing. You dip, and it's great. Or not. I don't like it, but whatever. So you find some food that you can eat for cheap, because if you're eating out for every meal, even if you're doing dollar menu at freaking McDonald's, you're still $5 into it. Like, I can eat sandwiches for a week and $5. Maybe 10 with the meat, but so just you gotta be smart about that. You can't waste your money. And then with the sleeping in the truck, that's been covered on a million blogs and Facebook groups and all that stuff. You build a bed in the back and sleep in the back of your truck. There's options for air conditioning. Some guys run their truck all night. I'll never do it. Some guys have 1 million miles in the truck, and the truck never stops. They don't shut it off until they get home. So, yeah, maybe it doesn't wear and tear on the truck, but it does burn up your fuel. So there's cheaper options. One thing that we're considering doing, and I actually have all the stuff to do it, is I got a generator, a little Honda 2000 from when we had the camper, and a tiny window AC unit, and put it in the back window and crank the generator, and then off you go. And that, I'll burn a gallon of fuel all night. So that's, but whatever your tolerance is for hot and cold. If you're a cold baby, get a good sleeping bag. You don't need to idle the truck all night. So that's about all I got. I mean, there's a bunch of other stuff. When you're the tolls, you have to get an easy pass. And then what they won't tell you when they recommend you get an easy pass is you can't turn in your load until all the tolls get posted to your easy pass. So they'll end up sending you nasty emails. Oh, you got to turn in this load. You got to turn in this load, or it'll be $25 fee. First of all, no, I haven't gotten my tolls yet. So you can send your dispatcher an email and say, I haven't got my tolls yet on this. You got to wait, and then they'll waive the fee. But normally you can get it, because it's like 7 business days or something. 7 days or 7 business days before they start charging that fee. The tolls normally come in 2 or 3 days. But number one, it's faster, because you don't have to go through the toll booths all the time and sit there and try and hand the money, and then you forget to get a receipt. So then you forget to get a receipt, and then you can't turn in the receipt, so you don't get paid for that. Use the Easy Pass, it's better, especially when you're going through Chicago. They have the open road tolling, so you don't have to stop. You don't go through the booth. You just the speed limit's like 55 through the, it's 3 lanes wide, and you just go. So that's a huge thing. And then what else? So on the tolls, so my wife does the driveway, and there's a bridge in Kentucky that bills you the toll, and the plate on the motorhome is a Horizon plate, so they mail the bill to Horizon. They don't mail it to us. We don't know that the toll came in. So we got billed like $7.50, and we didn't know what it was for. So we're calling our dispatcher, emailing, because our dispatcher doesn't freaking answer the phone ever. So we're emailing them, and then, calling back and forth and fighting. Come to find out, Horizon got billed for this. They had already billed Forest River, whoever it was, Thor, whatever. And when they got the bill, it was too late to bill Forest River for that $7.50, so they billed us for it. Like, it's not my fault, but you just kind of get screwed on stuff like that. There's nothing you can do about it. What are you gonna do? Quit? They don't care. There's 590 other drivers that'll take your trailer. So sometimes you have to just suck it up. And they know it too. That's the worst part. They know they have all the power, so you're just kind of at their mercy. It sucks, but it is what it is. Which I can't think of anything else that they really. Oh, so all right. So when you call to make your delivery, you know where you're going. You get there, and some dealers are great. So the Camping World in Akron is hands down my favorite. You walk in, you hand the girl the paperwork, she follows you outside, sees that the unit is there. Maybe she puts a sticker on it, I don't know, but she doesn't even walk around it, she doesn't look under it, she doesn't go inside of it, goes back into the thing, copies your stuff, you sign it, and you walk out and you leave. You're done. You're in and out of there in 10 minutes. And then you'll have another one, Lakewood, New Jersey. I would rather sit at home than take a camper to Lakewood, New Jersey. You're there for 2 hours before they send somebody out to finally look at the frickin' trailer, and then they look at it for another hour. It's absolutely disgusting, and nobody cares. Nobody says anything. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Indiana Transport has a detention pay, but I can't, don't quote me, I'm not sure. I know one of the companies has a detention pay after 2 hours. I'm sorry, if there's 50 drivers in front of you, sure, okay, fine, you're going to be there for a while. I know some guys have said that about Funtown in Texas. We went there, we were in and out in 10 minutes, but I know some guys, they show up there and there's a line of, 8 trucks in front of them. You're going to be there for a while, I get that. Lakewood's not like that. You're the only guy there, and you're still there for 2 hours. So I'll never take another one there, but that's, you'll find your own list. Some places are freaking great. You're in and out in 10 minutes, and it's no problem. And then some places are just freaking terrible. And they don't tell you that. They don't, they don't care in the orientation. So just be prepared for that. The worst part is when you get there and you only got 3 hours on your clock left, and they burn the whole thing, so you got to drive across the street and stay there until the next morning. It's just like, come on, man. But that's really about it. You gotta make sure you stay organized. Keep, I got folders here for every load. All the paperwork goes right in the folder after I do it, and then when I get ready to turn it in, it's all there. There's no, I don't have crap all over the truck. That's another. So they do talk about it briefly. When you go through a scale, if your truck is a mess, you got a better chance of getting pulled in. I've never been pulled into a scale, for an inspection. I've been pulled into scales, had to weigh, but you're, in and out of there. I've never been inspected, and I think part of that is because the truck is clean. I don't have crap all over the place. I mean, some guys, I've seen guys with crap stacked up on the passenger seat as high as a person. The guy's got a coffee pot up there. Like, come on, man. I understand people with their coffee, no, don't do that. Keep your crap organized, look like you know what you're doing, and you'll do a lot better. Don't show up to the frickin' dealership naked. There was a guy that did that in a motorhome. I don't know if he was on crack or what, but he showed up butt naked. They refused the unit. The last one I delivered last week, I think, West Coxsackie, funny name. The lady checking me in said that somebody left a pair of underwear in the unit. Don't do that. Don't be a slob. That's the reason we're not allowed to sleep in campers. So the motorhome guys do, and I think it's just because they don't have a truck, but they tell us you're not allowed to sleep in the camper, and it's because of slobs. People setting up freaking camp in those things, it just ruins it for everybody, so now you gotta sleep in your truck. But they won't tell you that in orientation, that's the driver's fault. What else? I don't know. They tell you have to have weight distribution hitch, but they don't tell you which ones are good, and they don't tell you how to hook them up. You just have to know, which is okay. I get it, but weight distribution hitches. If you don't pull trailers all the time, you're not going to know how to hook up a weight distribution hitch. So get on YouTube and look that crap up before you show up, so you're not lost. The breakaway battery. So that's another one. A lot of guys I see got this giant freaking marine battery, like they put on the campers when you buy it. You don't need all that crap. There's a few companies in Goshen. They sell these little dinky batteries, and I'll post a picture of it. But that's That's all you need. It's only in case the trailer detaches from the truck, it pulls the breakaway cable and applies the brakes on the trailer. There's that. Don't like the big. I mean, they're fine. There's nothing wrong with the big ones. It's just they take longer to hook up, and they're huge. So you got to find a place to put it, and you can't have anything flopping around in the bed of your truck while you're driving. I know cops never pull anybody over, but you're not supposed to. Everything's supposed to be secured. You probably should go into the camper when you pick it up and make sure there's make sure the bathroom hasn't been used. That's I've heard a couple guys, they get to the dealership and there's crap in the toilet. That's just going to end badly. You know, they're going to blame it on you, and you're going to have to pay for it or whatever. So if you're in the yard, you just call up your dispatcher and say, hey, there's shit in this thing. I'm not dealing with it, and then they'll assign you another trailer or whatever. On the rental truck thing, like I said, I've never done it. I don't know how much it costs. I don't know how big of a pain in the ass it is and all that stuff. But if you don't already have a truck, I would consider doing that for a month before you buy a truck. And then you could go back. I got a video, 3 or 4 back that talks about, how much you can make. So then you can kind of figure what it would actually be. And the reason I say that is a lot of guys do this. They buy a truck and do it for a couple weeks and realize they don't like it. And that's, for me it was okay. I wanted the truck anyway. But if you don't want a 3/4 ton or a 1 ton or whatever, don't go buy one not knowing if you're going to like this. That could be a very expensive mistake. It's not like this thing's real great on going to get groceries and stuff. So if you're just going to go back to work, commuting 45 minutes every day and getting 18 miles a gallon at best, not great. So if you want to turn your truck into a brodozer and have stacks on it or whatever kind of crap like that, yeah, go ahead. But whatever. So I've said it before, but you got to learn how to do the logbook before you go to orientation, because they tell you how to do it, but they don't do a good job. There's plenty of videos out there. Unfortunately, now with everything being ELD, I don't know how helpful those videos will be. But if you download the app, Keep Trucking is the one I use, and mess around with it a little bit, you can figure it out. You don't have a sleeper berth, so you're never going to be on that line. You're going to have on duty, off duty, and driving. I don't really want to make a whole video on how to do that, at least not in this video. I might do it another time, but you gotta make sure your logbooks are straight, because that's something that all these companies have terrible. It's a score that every company has, CSA score, and it's every company, all the towaway or motorhome driving camper companies have terrible scores because people don't know how to run a freaking logbook, or they're running dirty. Don't do that. There's no reason to. There's no reason to run dirty. It's just you make plenty of money, and you're risking a very expensive ticket for what? I mean, I get it. Things happen, but it's not worth it. It's not worth the $1,000 fine or whatever it is, or being stuck in a freaking truck waste station. If they inspect your logs, they'll freaking detain you, and then you're stuck there for 10 hours when all you needed was another half an hour. Well, you're behind even more. So that's another thing. They talk about their breakdown line. If you have a freaking wheel comes off or whatever driving on the road, or just something happens with the trailer, their breakdown lines are garbage. It's manned by the freaking janitor, the night janitor, who's only there to empty garbage cans, and he's got no idea what he's doing, and you got to fight, and you're stuck on the side of the road, or we're at a truck stop. It's just a giant pain in the ass every single time. Let's see, there's been 3 times, they've always been motorhomes, never had a problem with a trailer. But 3 times we've had to use the breakdown, and it's been a nightmare every time. So what we do now is you play a little bit of hardball. Now, not too much. You can't just be a dick, but you know, say, look, I was supposed to deliver this thing today. Now I'm going to be stuck until tomorrow. Can you reimburse me a hotel? So at least you'll get a hotel for a night, and that's how we did it last time, and it worked out pretty good. I mean, it was like a Thursday or something, and we were going to deliver on Thursday, but because we had the problem, we weren't going to be able to deliver until Friday. And the bad part about it is we would have made it home Thursday, so we didn't end up getting home until Friday afternoon. So not a huge deal, but you know, something to consider. But at least we got the hotel, so that was nice. They tell you to be reasonable. My reason, you know, reasonable means different things to different people. You know, reasonable is not the, you know, Fleabag, you know, motor lodge inn with, you know, 6 rooms and they're all just disgusting. Stay in a Holiday Inn or, you know, Hampton or whatever. Stay in a nice place, decent place. Not necessarily nice, but, you know, don't take advantage of it and stay at the Ritz. But, you know, so then they kind of back on choosing a load. And I covered this in that Don't Go South video. You make sure you look at the rate for the loads, and it's 100% bullcrap. You know, their excuse is that, you know, fuel is cheaper in the South, and it's not. It's flat out not. All they're doing is taking advantage of the type of people that want to do this job. You know, Southern boys, because it's not cheaper in Arizona, but it is in Texas and Louisiana, Georgia, you know, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina. You know, the Southern boys that want to do this kind of work. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just those are the type of guys, they're taking advantage of them because they want to be able to make it home. You know, so, I mean, look, if you want to do it, do it. But if your goal is to maximize the money you can make while driving a pickup truck, don't go south. There's also some odd places in the north. I've seen, like, so everything north is $1.34, you know, for shorter bumper pulls. And then for whatever reason, there's a place called Minot, North Dakota, and I went there once, and it's $1.29. Like, it's some kind of magic place that doesn't, I don't understand, but some kind of deal. I don't know, maybe the owner of that freaking factory caught the owner of the transport companies banging some hooker. I don't know, but for whatever reason, it's a few cents cheaper to go there. Don't go there, you know, unless you have to. Don't take cheap loads. And I get it, you know, if you live somewhere where there's cheap loads going there, then go there. You know, you can hang out at home. Or don't go there, stay up here for a couple weeks and then take one going home. You know, spend a few days at home and then come back. But you gotta, don't discount the entire industry. Oh, I couldn't make any money. Well, what were you doing? Well, I stayed in a hotel every night and ate at Red Lobster, and I only ran south. Well, no kidding, you didn't make any money. You know, so you gotta see where your expenses are going, and then you can judge like that. But budget for breakdowns, budget for bad weeks, budget for no weeks, budget for if the transmission drops out of this truck right now, I don't care. I mean, it sucks, you know, I'll be out $8,000, but I budget for it and I can handle it. I mean, it'd be a little earlier than I expected. You know, the truck's only got 150,000 on it, so hopefully the training lasts a little longer than that. But you know, you gotta be able to handle unexpected crap. So make sure you got that budget worked out. I mean, obviously, you're not necessarily going to have, you know, $15,000 in contingency funds the day you start doing it, but you should have at least a couple grand. I mean, if you don't have $2,000 just hanging out in the bank not being used, don't do this. You're going to end up taking the advance and running the advance, and then your advance is gone, and then the whole thing comes back, and you got to pay this, you got to pay that, and then you get 2 flat tires, and now you're out $800, and it just, and then you start swiping a credit card, and then before you know it, you're living. Just don't. If you don't have a couple $1,000 saved up, don't start doing this. Especially because all the little nickel and dime crap, you get, you got to have, the breakaway battery costs money. You got to have a torque wrench. You got to have triangles. You got to have the fire extinguisher. You got to have, the weight distribution hitch. None of that stuff is free. And if you want, you should probably have a fifth wheel hitch. I don't have one, and I'll probably never get one. But I'm also not trying to maximize every penny doing this, so I don't really care. And most of the fifth wheels are freaking heavy, and I know it distributes better on a fifth wheel, but it's still ultimately you're pulling that much weight, and that's wear on your transmission and your axles and everything else. And I don't need it, so I don't run a fifth wheel. But if you want to, that's another $500, $600, $700, $800, whatever. It depends on what kind of hit, and then the fuel tank's not cheap. You can buy used ones and put it in yourself, sure, but if you're going to go to one of the shops in Elkhart or Goshen, you're going to pay over $1,000 for that. So you got to have some money put up for that. The one thing I did see the nomadic couple talked about getting the zip ties. Don't get zip ties. You go to get these. It's a little ball with a rubber elastic band type thing, and you put that through the license plate and then wrap it around and then hook it back to the ball, and your license plate stays on there. They got them at Walmart. I think they're by the tarps. It's something for a tarp. I don't know. But yeah, it comes in a little container with 10 of them or whatever. Get those, because you don't have to be cutting off freaking zip ties, and they got zip ties all over the damn place. Those are better, and I've never had a break, and I've used the same set since I started doing this. So all right, so that's all I got. I got nothing else. Maybe I do. I don't know. Ask questions and comments. I do my best to see them all. Sometimes I miss them, but we'll see. I'll try and be better about posting videos. The biggest issue is content. I don't always have something to talk about. And editing videos of like landscape stuff, that's hard. I don't like the guys that do that all the time. Mad freaking props. That's a lot of freaking work. Like even once I've gotten used to the editing software, it still takes me a long time to make anything decent. So huge props to those guys. But if I got something to say, I'll make a video and say it. And maybe one day I'll actually walk around the truck and take video of all the junk I've got. But that's for another video. All right, see you guys.